everybody, welcome back to my channel with a Days Gone video with Jeff Dragon. I want to talk about something and I want to play Days Gone at the same time. The subject today is there more grains of sand on all the beaches, all the deserts, on planet Earth than there are stars in the entire universe? Our universe, not a parallel universe, but our universe. Before you answer yes or no, I need to state a few things. For a person to have an actual, respectable answer to this, I don't necessarily call it a question, or maybe a statement, but you need knowledge of astronomy. Very good knowledge of astronomy. And I'm not just talking about knowing the 8 planets plus what Pluto is in their order, which is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then Pluto, which is a dwarf planet, not on the same plane. But I digress. I'm getting off topic. A person must know mathematics really good, must have knowledge of the universe, astronomy, how things work, and also a lot other concepts that are just inherent for a person. You either have these concepts established already or you don't. So that is me. I have extensive knowledge of astronomy, of math, and this statement that there are more stars in the Milky Way galaxy, more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches and all the deserts on planet Earth insults my intelligence, because no one's ever asked to bother, no one's been bothered to ask, how did these scientists come up with this? How did these scientists just all of a sudden were accepted as this is correct? No one should question it. If anybody questions it, they should be laughed at and ridiculed. For example, many hundreds, thousands of years ago, it was believed that the Earth that the Earth was the center and that the sun revolved around the Earth. Well, that's not true. More people asked questions, and those questions, which I must say, those people that questioned the fact, or back then it was a fact that people would say that the sun revolved around the Earth, people questioned it as fact. Well, that turned out to be false, but the ones that questioned it were laughed at hysterically. The same reason why when I say I don't agree with the statement that there are more stars in the entire universe than there are grains of sand on all the beaches and all the deserts on planet Earth, I don't agree with that. It insults my intelligence. You want to know why? No one's ever bothered to ask, how did these scientists figure this out? Let me just kind of break it down to what I'm trying to say, because this is going to be quite a conversation. And to just say, oh yeah, it must be right because it sounds good, that's not good enough. Or because some scientist one day said that they calculated that on planet Earth there must be this number, let's just say 8 followed by 18 zeros. That's 8 billion, or, you know, that's a lot of grains of sand. And then supposedly they're saying in the universe that there's some number followed by like 80 zeros. The difference is so staggering and mind-blowing that the debate must be over. And some scientists were supposedly the ones that figured it out. But how did they figure it out? Everybody just takes their word for it because they're quote-unquote scientists. So if a doctor says you'll live longer if you jump off a cliff, because it's a doctor, are you going to do it? That doctor's insane. But that doctor believes in their mind that that's real. And if you go back maybe 1,000 years and you tell somebody that, oh, a doctor told me that I should jump off this cliff, I'll actually live longer. What? Oh, it's a doctor. He said it. The doctor said. Oh, a doctor said it. Okay, let's all go do it then. That's the mentality of the same thing when people question the amount of grains of sand versus the amount of stars. It's the same concept to me. No one's ever actually questioned how is it done. Now you can tell by my voice, I may be sounding a little condescending, but I'm frustrated because every time I bring this conversation up, either on the internet or in chat with family or friends, they just look at me and say, well, duh, everybody knows that. Yeah, it seems like everybody on the planet seems to know that statement. Why is this? Because it sounds cool. Have you ever been to a department store or at work and there's a contest where you got to guess how many marbles or gumballs or whatever they put in a jar, and the person who guesses the closest wins a prize? I've been in those contests, and it's very easy to figure out. I pretty much win them every time. And I don't understand why nobody else has figured this out. It's very easy. You take length times width times height. And in a jar, which is a cylinder, the length and the width are always the same. The height is what's different, because depending on the size of the jar. You take those three numbers, you count how many marbles are in a row, and give yourself a pretty close estimate. Go in the height way, and then you count how many marbles are going to be either length or width, because they're both, length and width are interchangeable with a jar, with a cylinder. So you take length times width times height, and you're going to get pretty close, within 5 or 10 of how many marbles or gumballs are in that jar every single time. You'll win the contest every time. These scientists now, who somehow came up with these numbers, seem to know how many grains of sand there are on Earth. Well, how did they do it? Did they take a measuring stick and stick it into the Sahara Desert and see how deep it can go? Of course not. Of course not, because there's so much sand on Earth that would be impossible. So how do they know? How do they know how deep it is? Also, grains of sand are created from water runoff from rocks being interacted with water, and that water eventually breaks down rocks. The rocks collide with each other. Excuse me. I'm talking so much I'm not taking a breath. Okay. So, and water runoff from mountains, which feed lakes, which lakes lead to rivers, which rivers lead to oceans. Everything leads to the ocean. And the water runoff from mountains is constantly creating little tiny rocks, which eventually turns into grains of sand. So grains of sand are constantly being created on Earth. So that number is going to keep adding, just like the universe keeps creating stars. So it insults my intelligence for anyone just to accept it at face value, because some scientists in a room, who we don't even know their names, unless I Google it, maybe I could find out. But I did some checking, found out that some scientists one day said, oh, let's just figure this out. Let's see how many grains of sand there are on Earth. And then they came up with this number, but I doubt that they went out and said, okay, how deep is this beach? Length times width times height. They don't know. There's no way to know how deep the sand goes. If anybody tells you that that's possible, how would it be possible? You'd have to hire some sort of corporation to get a long enough drill to drill down far enough into the sand until they hit bedrock. Then they have to prove that that's bedrock, and then that's where the sand stops. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Do you mean to tell me that scientists, in order to say this cool statement that everybody just drools over and say, oh wow, that's just so cool. Did you hear what he said or she said? Did you hear what they said? They said that there's more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on Earth. Then all the laymen and all the people who actually have no concept of astronomy barely care about math because they'd rather just slack off in school are just like, wow, it must be true. That just sounds so great and wonderfully awesome. That insults my intelligence because nobody ever asks, okay, how did they come up with this number? So the fact that they did come up with these numbers, according to them, they must know then how big the universe is. But I thought the universe was finite. How can you know how many stars are in the universe if you say it's finite, these great scientists? That's a contradiction. So with my statement saying that grains of sand are constantly being created on planet Earth, from water runoff from mountains into lakes into rivers, which leads to the ocean. Everything leads to the ocean, by the way. I don't care what it is. Then I'm getting off topic. My mind is for them to be that pompous and say that they know how many grains of sand there are, which they say is, I can't remember if it's like 8 or 80. At this point, I don't think it matters because the numbers are just so large. Followed by 17 or 18 zeros, and then they say that the number of stars is actually an even larger number, followed by about 80 zeros. Means to tell me that these pompous, arrogant scientists know exactly how many stars there are, know exactly how many grains of sand they are, just because they're scientists and they say that must be true. What if there's the same amount of stars, and the same amount of grains of sand, because they're finite? Infinity equals infinity on paper. Can you say how do you know one infinity is larger than another? You say they're the same because they're infinity. So if there's constantly being grains of sand created on planet Earth from water erosion, from mountains, from just rocks around the planet Earth, be water running over it, we all know that, right? And if you don't know that, then how come you know this thing about some scientists who came up with this statement that everybody thinks is just such an awesome and glorious thing that, oh wow, it just, the reason they keep saying it, all these people, and it's been ingrained into our heads. More people know, I'm not saying it's a fact, more people know about that statement than any other thing on Earth, it seems. It seems like human beings know that just the same as you guarantee that the ice cream machine is going to be broken at McDonald's. Everybody seems to know that some scientist in a room one day figured out how many stars there are and said, oh, there must be more stars than grains of sand on all the beaches and all the deserts on planet Earth. Everybody knows that. But does everybody know how grains of sand are created? There's a finite number of grains of sand on Earth because they're constantly being created every day. Thousands and thousands and thousands of grains of sand are being created every day. Now, I did some research, and the only one I could find who actually knew anything was the late Carl Sagan. If you don't know who that is, then you prove my point if anybody out there who believes that statement. If you don't know who Carl Sagan is, then I don't want to hear you telling me that I'm wrong. That I don't agree with that statement. Like I said, you need to have knowledge of astronomy, math, how the universe works, the concept of a visual in your mind of what the universe is. If you're not able to do that, I don't want you to even leave a comment. I don't want to hear about it. I'm not even gonna. If you have nothing to back it up, if you leave a comment and all you have to say is, "Oh, you're stupid, you're wrong," and that's all you're gonna say, then I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with you. I want you to come up with a valid argument. Come up with a valid argument that's gonna and don't just say because some scientist said so. Don't just say, oh, these scientists got into a room and they said it, so it must be true. See, that's what pisses me off every time. Is when I hear that shit. Is when I hear stupid shit like that. And then anybody like me who comes along and questions it must be crazy. And that I'm just, whoops, that was supposed to be a, oh wow, look at that. everything all around here. There's enemies to fight. There's a glitch with this. There's a glitch sometimes out. These guys are tough. I forgot what these things are called. I want to get back to what I was talking about.
Come on.
So did the scientists take a ruler, measure the length, width, and height? The example I gave with the gumballs or the marbles in a jar, if you want to figure out how many there is, length, width, and height's always going to give you the correct answer because math doesn't lie. So, I think, and I hope you've listened up to this far, I think that there needs to be someone who actually can come up with and actually measures how deep the deserts and all the beaches on planet Earth are before they come up with these arrogant, pompous statements. And then every time they recite that to some layman, the layman's just drop down and say, "Oh, wow. How did you become so cool? Did you hear what you said?" And if anybody questions that, they must be crazy. And they gotta be laughed at. You know? It's the most, in my opinion, it's the most arrogant thing to believe. Just because some scientist said that must be true.
Yeah,
you know,
that's right. I gotta burn out the rest of these nasties.
There's so many doctors and scientists out there that are pretending to be scientists and doctors because they want attention.
I'll come back here and finish burning this.
What if these scientists who came up with these numbers just were narcissists and wanted attention? And now all of a sudden it's accepted as fact. When no one's actually taken the time to prove it. They just say, "Oh, come on, man. Think about it." Well, that's not my style. You need to show me on paper and not just say it because it sounds cool. Now, Carl Sagan, I did some research. Carl Sagan was the only one I could find that could give me a concrete answer. And like I said, if you don't know who Carl Sagan is, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, I don't even want to hear your answer whether or not there's more stars in the universe. Because you're not on my level. Carl Sagan said in the palm of your hand, an adult palm of your hand, you can hold about 10,000 grains, just in the palm of your hand. If you took a scoop from the beach, that's a lot. That's a lot of grains of sand. So then you take that handful, and you're saying, okay, how long would it take me to, let's just say, imagine this giant dump truck, as big as the planet Earth, it would have to be, and you just, one by one, this, let's just say just for sake of saying it, I know it's impossible, that one person just for the rest of their life just scoops up 10,000 grains of sand per handful and just starts putting them in this dump bucket. They would never get done because grains of sand are constantly being created, just like stars are constantly being created. So it is my opinion that the number of grains of sand on planet Earth, all the beaches, all the deserts, by the way, the Sahara Desert is gigantic. How deep is it? Nobody knows. For anybody to know, you gotta be able to put something into the earth and measure it. I don't know how you're gonna do it. No one ever does it. They just assume. That's the thing. The word assume. We all know what that word, when you break it down, I don't know if I can even say it, what that word means. ASS, you and me. It makes an X out of you and me, because I'm not sure if I can say ASS. I can say assassin. So we all know the word, what assume means, what our position and what our take on that is. There's a lot of stupid people on planet Earth. George Carlin, the comedian, I'm going from what he said. I'm not calling you, the viewer, stupid. I'm just going by what George Carlin said. And a lot of these stupid people on Earth hear it from a scientist and just accept it as fact, but they don't want to take the time to actually think because it hurts their brains. And every time I bring this up, people just say, why do you question it? Because that's what science is all about. Science is about questioning. If people didn't question, our planet Earth would cease to evolve. We would actually start devolving. Science is about questioning everything. It is my opinion that there are the same amount because they're constantly being created. There's a finite amount both on planet Earth and the stars in the entire universe. There's a finite amount. To say that there's more stars is pompous and arrogant. And I know a lot of you are going to disagree with this. I'm probably going to get a lot of dislikes. I don't care. But if you're going to leave a comment, you better have knowledge of astronomy. Don't insult my intelligence with anything stupid. You better have a knowledge of math. You better know what length times width times height is. And if you didn't understand the concept of the marbles in the jar and how to figure it out, and the next time there's a contest you come across that, and you don't use my method, and you just want to take a wild guess, you're not going to win. If you want to win that contest, that's how you do it. I have a high IQ, and I can attest to that. Is that the proper word? I worked at Ford Motor Company in the skilled trades, and to do that, you must pass a test with flying colors. And I'm not talking about a personality test, but it's a test about arithmetic, math, general concepts of logic, being able to fit shapes together. That's the brain that I've got. And I'm making a video about it, and I'm using this game, even though I'm not doing much, because it helps to think when you're doing something else. So I'm gonna think about what else I may have missed on this topic while I ride around on my bike. The cool thing about this game is anything that you forget to loot will still be there for you. Bodies don't disappear until you loot them, from what I've seen. So this is pretty cool, just doing some free roaming and talking. And I don't mean to make fun of anybody. I just like talking and not hearing somebody else interrupt me. Right now I can talk all I want. No one's going to interrupt me when I bring up this subject. And every time I do bring up this subject, people interrupt me. And they just say, well, that's just the way it is. Okay, now give me your reasoning. And they don't. They're just like, well, duh, that's what they said, so it must be true. And then when I start breaking it down, that's when they just walk away. When I start breaking down and giving my opinions on why this is pompous and arrogant to say that, and I start giving my examples, maybe I'm just too forward, maybe I come on too strong, but every single time, no one wants to actually sit down and discuss it. They just say, well, this is what the experts say, so that must be true. You know how much that pisses me off? How much, I can only imagine how disgusted and pissed off the scientists like Aristotle, I can't think of the names right now, Plato, who else? Copernicus, Archimedes. When they questioned things that people accepted as fact and were laughed at, and then these great scientists were never vindicated until after they died many hundreds of years later, that they were proven to be right. Now this is a deep subject, and that's why I keep talking about it, and I'm glad you, the viewer, are still here. But I want to take my channel into a different direction and just talk about things in life that frankly insult my intelligence. They really do. I know it's pointless to talk about it because it really doesn't affect anybody's day-to-day outcome in life. But it's just so... I hate pompousness and arrogance more than anything in life. People that are pompous and arrogant and refuse to actually sit down and say, okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That does sound weird. How did they come up with these numbers? And all of a sudden, how do they know how many stars are in the entire universe and how many grains of sand there are? That's just, in itself, the definition of pompousness and arrogance. To know that number and not actually break it down and show the math. No one ever breaks it down. No one ever breaks it down. You see it on the History Channel where they talk about ancient aliens, or History Channel where they talk about the planets and astronomy. All of a sudden, they do it every time. They'll introduce some scientist that says, there are more stars in the universe than there are grains of sand on all the planet. Blah, 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 blah. They say it every time. There's always that one person that's got to say it. And that's it. They just leave it at that. They give it like 2 minutes attention, and no one ever says, okay, let's get a chalkboard and write down for the people that want to understand it, for the people that care. Let's take the time and discuss it. You know, there are doctors that lose their license because of malpractice. What if the scientists that figured out who came up with this statement, where, for the sake of argument, just because lack of a better term, quacks. They're malpracticing science. Does that make sense? These people that are supposed experts that came up with these numbers, what if they're just idiots pretending? Just like a doctor who pretends to be a doctor is sued for malpractice or whatever. It's the same thing. But I want to see if anything spawns in here.
Shit!
There's usually stuff that spawns in here. Here we are.
Good.
It's been a while since I've actually taken a nap in this game. I'm going to do it after I get my... I like about these gun lockers is you can... I want to try this. I just earned this the other day. Choose through ammo. I don't like this MG45. It's not very accurate. Besides, I like this one better because it's a sniper rifle. This MG45 sucks. I can't believe you need level 3 trust to unlock it. It's not very accurate. The Chicago chopper is much more accurate. Let me show you which one I'm talking about. The primary. Okay, I've got this one, the Chicago chopper. Right there. That one is way better than the MG45 for accuracy and just stopping power. The MG45 is absolute crap. Absolute crap. If you play this game, I don't know if it even matters. For those that don't play this game, I'm grateful for you for sticking around listening to my rant right now. I'm trying to do the best I can and talk and play at the same time. You know, this is a subject that I've been wanting to talk about, and I figured this is the best way to do it because and not get interrupted by people that just want to say, "Well, you're wrong, Jeff," and then I say, well, "Okay, show me why I'm wrong." Don't just say I'm wrong. Show me why. I've come up with a pretty valid argument. Now it's your turn. I don't see how anybody could refute what I just said and without saying the same thing. just to say that it's a fact is stupid. Is stupid. And I don't even want to be in the same room with you, to be honest. Give me something that's gonna make me respect what you have to say. Don't just say, well, you have to believe it because they said so. That's okay. I'm done. I don't want to know who you are. I don't want to be affiliated with you. If you want to unsubscribe from my channel and you feel differently, thank you. Go away. I want people on my channel that actually have a brain. Besides, YouTube doesn't do very well to promote my content. Anyways. There are a lot of channels out there on this platform that get promoted unfairly. That's all I got to say about that. If I say anything more, this video won't even make it. And I'm entitled to my opinion, but I'm not going to say anything more about that. You know, there's just certain things that I've been noticing. Okay? Humans like to take notice. Humans notice patterns. We're a pattern-like species. That's how humans evolve. We notice patterns. More people need to start talking about this, about the stars versus grains of sand. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. I don't need to explain anything more. You all, if you've listened up to this far, you'll know what I mean when I say stars versus grains of sand. And that's what I want to continue talking about. Oh wow, look at here. We got a little miniature horde. I want to try the shotgun. Oh yeah, it's the first time I've tried this. Oh, look at that. What are they doing? Oh, they're going after this wolf. Wow, that one just... Oh! I could get eaten here. That's not going to happen today. It ain't happening on my watch. This shotgun is... Whoops. Whoops, I'm getting my eye-hand coordination messed up because I'm talking at the same time. Whoa, there's something behind me. Didn't even see it. Oh, this shotgun's awesome. Very awesome. How many bullets do I have? 106? Costs about $1,000 I remember to refill all of that. About 1,200 bucks. Not bad. Or 1,200 credits. So this is kind of cool. As I talk, I'm wandering aimlessly as I talk. Randomly exploring the Days Gone universe. Combat shotgun time. Oh yeah. It took a while to unlock this. You gotta kill a lot of hordes. Doesn't have very good range though. Gotta make sure it's close range. Which can get you in trouble if you're too complacent. If it can get you in trouble if you're complacent. That kind of goes along with what I was just talking about with the stars versus grains of sand. People have become complacent because it just sounds cool. It must be true. That's the problem with the human species. We become complacent, and it takes a long time for science. Whoa! It takes a long time for science to catch up. This combat shotgun is like a machine gun. Run, Deacon. Reload. Wow, this is so awesome. Don't want to run or jump off a cliff. Go backwards. But if a doctor says jump off a cliff, would you do it? If you believe and just take it at face value that there's more stars than there are grains of sand on Earth and all the beaches too, and deserts, then you're just as arrogant as the person who would say, yeah, if a doctor says jump off a cliff, it's good for you, we should all do it. There's no difference. There's no difference. There's no difference, ladies and gentlemen. And I know that sounds harsh, and you're probably thinking, Jeff, how can you say such a thing? Well, I need to take some stamina. How can you say such a thing? How can you say such a thing, Jeff? That's arrogance. Yeah, it is. But it's also got a little bit of ironic truth to it. Well, these guys, these scientists say, because they're scientists, they say what they say about stars versus grains of sand. So if this doctor says jump off a cliff, I should do it because he's a doctor. And of course you're going to say, no, I'm not going to do that, doctor. You're crazy. But maybe a couple thousand years ago, that would have been considered not crazy. Hope that helps everybody. And maybe when the topic of conversation maybe comes up one day, and you're going to hear it again, because for some reason Americans, that's all they like to talk about. And for some reason everybody seems to know it. I don't know why. Fire your gun. Am I out of bullets? Am I out? Oh. For some reason this wouldn't fire again. There, it fired. That was weird. So if the topic of conversation ever comes up in your travels, which it's going to, that topic of conversation always comes up, and whenever anybody says it, they feel like the coolest person in the room. And I bet you've said it to people, and I've even said it to people before. I just used to accept it as fact, and I would say it at parties, and people would look at me and like, wow, Jeff, you're the most amazing person ever. Do you have a 5,000 IQ? And I'm just thinking, wow, how cool am I that I just said something? And then I'm actually thinking to myself, wait a minute. Think about what I just said. And then as I got older, I started to question how stupid and arrogant and pompous that actually sounds. You know, or you could just keep quiet and not bring it up, just because if you do bring it up, I guarantee you it's going to turn into an argument. You might as well be talking about politics. But if you want to bring that subject up, go right ahead. But I guarantee you're not going to be able to finish the sentence before somebody interrupts you. And that's why I'm doing it here. That's why I want to talk about it here. And it feels good. It gives me high blood pressure to think about that and not talk about it. It gives me high blood pressure to think about that and talk about that with my family and friends, and they immediately want to interrupt me within 5 seconds of me saying it, or trying to say, no, let's think let's break it down. That's arrogant and pompous to say that. Now, I want you to take a moment and think about the Sahara Desert and all the beaches, the coastlines, all the continents. Every continent has a coast. So there's all these grains of sand, and then the grains of sand keep getting created every day by rain and water runoff from mountains, which leads into lakes, and then that water, the rivers, and then there's rocks in the riverbed, and then those rocks get broken down, and everything leads to the ocean. So sand grains are constantly being created, and now think about the size of the Earth. And think about what Carl Sagan said. one handful of sand is about 10,000 grains. And then think about what I said about the big dump truck, as big as this planet Earth. And one person who, let's just say for the sake of argument, lives forever, never dies, because they would have to be that kind of a person. There'd be no way to live that long and do it, and take just scoops and scoops of sand from the Earth and then just keep putting them in that dump truck while trying to keep up with the grains of sand that are constantly being brand newly created grains of sand. Because it's arrogant and pompous to think that there's just a set amount and that's it. That number keeps getting added to. Not to mention all the space dust that comes from out in outer space, which then raindrops catch. Water droplets catch, which turns into rain, which comes down from the planet Earth. So a lot of grains of sand are probably from outer space. Tiny little rocks in outer space, you know, meteor showers. Meteor showers create sand on Earth. That's another topic entirely, but it does relate. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, then you don't need to be listening to this topic. And you better not leave a comment. I don't want to hear it. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. I'm tired of walking around on this planet with so many stupid people surrounding me that just accept things because some supposed expert said this must be true. And they don't ever want to take the time to think for themselves because they're just walking idiot zombies. Kind of like this game. I feel like Deacon right now, one of the few people left on Earth that has a brain. Everybody have a good day.
Got their attention.